never imagined my life would come to this. At 62, after working 2 jobs for most of my life, after paying off my mortgage dollar by dollar, after raising my son in this house with love and sacrifice, I stood in my own living room, with my daughter-in-law's handprint burning red across my cheek, and she said in the coldest voice I've ever heard, "Give me the keys. This house belongs to Michael and me now. You're just in the way." For a moment, I didn't even feel the pain. I just felt something inside me break, because the woman I welcomed like a daughter, the one I cooked for, prayed for, opened my home to, looked at me like I was a stranger stealing something from her. And my son? He stood there frozen, like he didn't know whose side to choose. That was the night everything changed. The night I realized kindness has limits, and sometimes the people you treat like family turn around and treat you like a burden. But trust me, what she didn't know was that I was done staying silent. This was only the beginning. My name is Linda. I live in a quiet suburban town in Oregon, in the same small white house I bought when my son, Michael, was only 4. It's the house with the maple tree out front, the one that turns bright orange in the fall and fills the yard with leaves like tiny pieces of fire. For almost 30 years, it was just the 2 of us, me and my boy. Life wasn't easy back then. His father left when Michael was still learning how to spell his own name, and overnight I became both mom and dad. I worked full-time at a grocery store during the day and cleaned offices at night. I used to come home exhausted, but the moment I heard Michael laugh, it always felt worth it. He grew up quiet, gentle, and thoughtful, the kind of boy who held doors for strangers, helped the elderly with groceries, and sat next to the lonely kid at school. I always joked that I didn't raise him alone. This house helped raise him too. Its walls had seen every birthday. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and remind us of life's quiet miracles, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps our little storytelling family grow. Every broken bone, every tear, every hug, and I kept the house for us, for our future, for the family I dreamed he'd have one day. So when Michael told me he was getting married, I felt a kind of joy I hadn't felt in years. It was like every sacrifice I made, every overtime hour, was finally blooming into something beautiful. Her name was Emily. She was 28, bright, ambitious, and full of opinions. The first time we met, she walked into my kitchen with a latte in her hand and said, "This place has potential," while looking around like she was evaluating a fixer-upper on TV. I laughed it off. I thought maybe she was just nervous. Back then, I didn't know that sentence would be the first small seed of trouble. Still, I welcomed her with open arms. I cooked for her, I included her in family traditions, I gave her my mother's old quilt as a wedding gift. I wanted her to feel loved, safe, and accepted. Because when your child loves someone deeply, you try your best to love them too. And for a while, things were peaceful. Michael and Emily lived in an apartment nearby, but they visited often. We'd have Sunday dinners, game nights, lazy afternoons on the porch. Emily would tell me about her job at the tech company, her goals, her ideas. She was bold, opinionated, and sometimes a bit sharp, but I didn't mind. I thought we were still learning each other. But the first crack in our relationship appeared on a rainy afternoon. We were sitting at the dining table, and she asked a question that caught me off guard. "Linda, do you ever think about downsizing?" I smiled. "Not really. This house is my comfort." She nodded slowly, then said, "Well, homes this size are really better for younger couples. You know, like starting families." I didn't know how to respond, because something about the way she said it, calm, casual, but slightly too confident, made my stomach tighten. It felt like she wasn't just talking about downsizing. She was talking about my house, the one I worked my whole life for. But I brushed it off. I didn't want to assume anything bad. Sometimes a comment is just a comment, right? At least, that's what I told myself. Looking back, That was the moment I should have listened to the quiet warning inside me. Because soon, those small hints became stronger. And Emily's interest in my home wasn't just casual curiosity. It was the beginning of something deeper, something colder, something that would eventually lead to the night she raised her hand at me. But I didn't know any of that yet. I was still just a mother, doing her best to love the woman her son loved. Still believing kindness would be enough. Still hoping family meant the same thing to all of us. I remember one Sunday afternoon, the sun was soft and warm, shining through the kitchen windows the way it always had since Michael was little. I was making pot roast, his favorite, something I cooked almost every birthday when he was growing up. Emily walked in while I was stirring the gravy. She stood beside me, watching silently, her arms crossed in a way that didn't feel like simple observation, but judgment. "You still cook everything by hand?" she asked. I smiled. "Old habits. My mother taught me this recipe." Her lips curled slightly. "You know, with the right gadgets, this could be way easier. Faster. More efficient." I laughed softly. "Maybe so. But food tastes different when you make it with your hands." She didn't respond. She just leaned against the counter like she was waiting for something else from me. Something bigger. Later that evening, while we were all eating at the dining table, Emily ran her hand along the wooden surface and said, almost to herself, "This would look beautiful sanded down and refinished. Maybe a lighter wood." Then she glanced around the room. And the walls, they'd be so nice and soft gray. Very modern. I looked at her for a moment, trying to understand, because everything she mentioned wasn't small talk. It was ownership talk. The kind people use when they walk into their new home and start making plans. But the house wasn't new, and it wasn't hers. Yet every time she visited, she spoke about it like she was preparing it for something. Something she hadn't said out loud yet. Michael noticed it too. One night, after they left, he called me. His voice was gentle, almost apologetic. "Mom, Emily's just excited about interior design. She doesn't mean anything by it." And I believed him, because he had always believed the best in people. I told him, "I know. She's young. She sees things with fresh eyes." But the truth was, a tiny part of me felt like a guest in my own home whenever she came over. Not every time. Not always. Just enough times to leave a small bruise in my heart. Still, I kept trying. I wanted peace. I wanted a family that got along. I didn't want to be that mother-in-law, the one who nitpicked or interfered or made the wife uncomfortable. I told myself that love needed patience, that learning each other takes time, that families grow through small misunderstandings, not in spite of them. But a few weeks later, something happened that I still remember clearly, because it was the first time Emily's sharpness came out without a smile to soften it. It was a rainy evening, and Michael had asked if they could stay with me for a few days while their apartment underwent some repairs. Of course I said yes. I was happy to have them. The first night seemed fine. We watched TV, shared popcorn, laughed at commercials. The second night, everything changed. Emily walked into my living room wearing a robe and slippers and said, "Linda, can we talk about the guest room?" I nodded. "Of course." She sighed, brushing her hair behind her ear. "It's just the mattress is too soft. And the lighting is bad. The curtains are old. And the closet is, well, it's crowded." I felt my face warm slightly, embarrassed even though I shouldn't have been. I told her, "I can clear out more space for you." She shook her head. "No. I mean the house, Linda. Everything is aged. Outdated. And I think Michael deserves better." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Not because of what she said, but how she said it. Sharp. Cold. Like nothing here had value. Like nothing I built mattered. Michael walked in then, holding his phone. "What's wrong?" he asked. Emily turned to him. "I'm just saying, your mother's house is falling apart. Maybe it's time she moved into something smaller." Something more manageable. And maybe we can take over this place. Fix it up. Really make it ours. She said it like she was doing me a favor. Michael froze. I could see the conflict in his eyes, the tug-of-war between the two people he loved most. I smiled softly, trying to ease the tension. It's okay, I told them. Let's just rest tonight. We can talk about everything later. But inside me, a quiet ache started forming, because for the first time, I realized Emily didn't just have ideas. She had intentions, and they involved my home, my life, my place in this family. After that conversation about taking over the house, I tried to move on. I told myself not to take it too seriously. People say bold things when they're stressed, and staying in someone else's home can bring out insecurities. But Emily's words didn't fade. They lingered like a shadow that followed me around the house. Every morning, when I walked into the guest room to make the bed after they left for work, I heard her voice again. Your house is falling apart. Maybe it's time for you to move out. We can take over this place. And I wondered, was she planning it? Had she been thinking about this from the beginning? Still, I tried to keep the peace. On the third morning of their stay, I made breakfast, eggs, toast, and pancakes. Michael walked into the kitchen smiling like he did when he was a teenager. Mom, this smells amazing, he said. But Emily didn't smile. She walked in behind him, looked at the food and sighed. Linda, we're trying to eat healthier. Oh, I said gently. I can make something else if you like. She shook her head. No, it's fine. You already made it. I'll just have coffee. Her tone wasn't angry, just distant. But something about it stung more than if she had yelled. Michael sat down awkwardly, torn between comforting me and following her lead. As they ate, Emily pointed at the ceiling and said, "Is that water damage?" I glanced up. Just an old stain. Nothing serious. She hummed quietly. One more thing that needs work. I swallowed my words. Not because I agreed, but because I didn't know how to disagree without sounding defensive. And the truth is, yes, the house had its flaws. It was older. It needed repairs. But it was my home. The place where I lived, worked, cried, celebrated. The place that held every piece of my life. I didn't expect perfection. I didn't need it. I just needed respect. The day everything shifted. On Friday evening, we all sat in the living room after dinner. The rain was tapping softly against the windows. Michael was scrolling on his phone, and Emily was flipping through a home design magazine. I was knitting, like I always did at night. Emily suddenly closed the magazine and said, "Linda, can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied. "Why don't you sell this house?" Michael's head snapped up. "Emily," he warned. "No, I'm serious," she insisted. Then she turned back to me. "You're living here alone. It's a big house. It's too much work for one person. You could move into a nice condo or senior apartment. It would be easier." Her voice was soft, but not kind. Soft the way you speak to a child who doesn't understand something simple. I felt a quiet pressure in my chest. "I'm comfortable here," I said gently. "This is where I want to stay." She sighed. "But Michael and I are planning to start a family soon. We can give this house a fresh start. A new look. This could be our home, Linda. You don't need something this big anymore." Her words echoed through the room like something rehearsed. Michael leaned forward. Can we not do this right now?" She crossed her arms. "It's a logical plan. Why is everyone acting like it's an attack?" I breathed slowly. "It's not about logic," I said quietly. "This house, it holds memories. It's part of me." Emily tilted her head. "But memories don't pay for repairs, right?" There it was. The drop of poison in her voice. The hint of something I hadn't wanted to see. She didn't just want the house. She felt entitled to it. Michael rubbed his forehead with both hands, exhausted. Let's talk about something else, he said. Please. So we did. But inside me something shifted. A small crack opened. A place where trust used to live. A moment I can't forget. The next morning, I overheard something I wasn't supposed to hear. I was in the hallway, on my way to fold laundry, when I passed by the guest room. The door was slightly open. Michael and Emily were inside. Why do you keep pushing her? Michael whispered. Because it's practical, Emily said, frustrated. You know the house will be ours someday. Why wait? She's alone. She doesn't need it anymore. She's my mother, he said. And I'm your wife, she replied. There was a pause. A long, heavy pause. Emily continued, softer this time. If she really loved us, she'd help us start our life. My heart dropped. Because helping them had always been my dream. But handing over my entire life, my home, my stability, that wasn't help. That was erasing myself. I stepped away quietly, making sure they didn't know I had heard. That night, as I lay in bed listening to the house creak the way it always had, I pressed my hand against my chest and whispered to myself, maybe love isn't enough when someone doesn't want your love, just what you own. And that was the first night I truly felt afraid. Not of them, but of losing the one place in the world that was mine. The next few days felt different. Emily moved around my home like she was already adjusting it in her mind. What would change, what she would fix, what she would throw away. She opened cabinets without asking. She rearranged my pantry. She put my old decorative plates my mother handed down to me, into a box labeled stuff to donate. When I saw that box in the hallway, something inside me tightened. These are my mom's, I told her softly. Emily blinked at me, almost surprised I said anything. Oh, well, I didn't think you really used them. I don't, I said. But I keep them. She stared at the plates for a second. Okay, I'll leave them. But you know, Linda, sometimes holding on to old things just makes life heavier. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. But something about her comment lingered like a bruise that wouldn't fade. Because she wasn't talking about plates. She was talking about me. The shift in my son. Michael tried to keep the peace. He really did. He made small jokes when the air got too heavy. He hugged me a little longer before leaving for work. He washed the dishes without me asking. But I could see the strain in his shoulders. The stress behind his smile. The quiet guilt he carried like a weight. One night, he found me in the living room watering my plants. He paused, watching me for a moment, then said softly, "Mom, are you okay?" I looked at him, trying to choose my words. "I'm fine," I said. "Just tired." He sighed and sat down. I know Emily can be direct. I smiled faintly. She's young. She has a different way of doing things. She doesn't mean to upset you, he said again. But his voice didn't sound convinced. I placed the watering can down and sat beside him. Michael, I don't need everything to be perfect. I just want peace. For all of us. He nodded slowly. I want that too. But he looked away when he said it. And I knew why. Because he was trapped between two lives. One he came from, and one he was building. And I could feel him slipping. Not because he wanted to, but because Emily was tugging him in a direction I wasn't meant to follow. The day she drew a line. It was Saturday morning when everything took another step toward a place I never thought we'd reach. The sun was warm, and I was baking cinnamon muffins, something I usually did when the house felt tense. The smell always had a way of softening the air. Emily walked in, her hair tied back, wearing leggings and a sweatshirt. She looked at the baking tray and frowned slightly. "Are you making those every weekend?" she asked. I smiled. "It's a little tradition of mine." She tapped her nails on the counter. "Maybe we can start new traditions when we move in." I froze. "Move in?" She nodded casually. "Yes. Michael and I talked. We think it's time." Our apartment lease ends next month anyway. This house is big enough for all of us. I gently wiped my hands on a cloth. But Emily, I never agreed to that. She raised an eyebrow, surprised. But it's logical. We're family. You're alone. We can help with repairs. And eventually, when you're ready to move, we'll take over. Her voice was calm, matter of fact, as if she were discussing where to store groceries. But my heart felt like it had stopped. I whispered, "This is my home." She shrugged lightly. "And we respect that. But you won't need all this space forever." I swallowed hard. "Emily, I'm not moving out." She blinked, the first crack in her polite mask. Oh, just one small sound. But it carried disappointment. And something sharper. Something resembling frustration. "I thought it was obvious," she said quietly. "It wasn't," I replied. She didn't argue. She just turned her back and walked toward the hallway. But her silence said everything. She wasn't done. Not even close. The private conversation I overheard. Late that night, when the house was quiet and the floors creaked beneath the weight of memories, I heard voices again, soft, tense voices coming from the kitchen. I walked toward the doorway and paused. Michael was sitting at the table with his hands in his hair. Emily was pacing. "She's being stubborn," Emily whispered harshly. "She's not ready," Michael said. "Stop pushing." Emily threw her hands up. "We need that house. It's perfect for us. Why can't she understand that?" "Because she raised me there," Michael said. "So," Emily shot back, "do you expect her to live here forever? In a big house alone? That makes no sense." Michael stood frustrated. "Emily, let it go for now." But she didn't. She lowered her voice. "You're her son. If you talk to her, she'll listen. She always listens to you." My heart clenched. Because that was true. I always listened to Michael. Always trusted him. Always put him first. But suddenly, I wasn't sure if he would do the same for me. When I pulled away from the doorframe and walked back to my bedroom, the house felt colder, smaller, like the walls were closing in. And that's when I realized they weren't just planning for the future. They were planning mine. Without me. It was a Wednesday evening, late in October. The air outside was crisp, leaves rustling across the driveway. I had spent the day tidying the house, putting things in order. I thought maybe if the house was calm and welcoming, the tension would ease. I was wrong. Emily walked in from work, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood floor. Her face was pale, her jaw tight. She was carrying a small stack of papers, and a look I had never seen before. She stopped in the doorway, glancing around the living room like she owned it already. Then she turned to me and said the words that made my stomach drop. "Mom, I need the house keys. Now." I froze. My hands went limp at my sides. "Excuse me," I whispered. "The keys," she repeated, sharper this time. "We can't wait any longer. Give me the keys." I felt the walls close in around me. This wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a demand. And it came with the weight of a th. And it came with the weight of a threat I couldn't name yet. I tried to stay calm. "Emily, this is my home. I'm not giving you the keys. We can sit down and talk about this, but you're not just taking them." Her eyes darkened. And in a moment I will never forget, she lifted her hand and slapped me across the cheek. It wasn't a violent strike, but it was deliberate. It carried all the anger, all the entitlement, all the disregard for my life and my boundaries. The sting burned, but worse than that, the betrayal cut deeper. I held my cheek and whispered, almost to myself, Why are you doing this?" Emily didn't answer. She just held out her hand again. "The keys, Mom. I need them. Michael and I are starting our life, and this house is ours now." I shook my head, tears welling in my eyes. "No. This house isn't just a building. It's memories. It's my life. You can't just. She interrupted me, her voice low and hard. Stop. You're making this worse than it is. Michael appeared at the top of the stairs, his face pale, his hands raised as if to intervene. Emily, stop, he said. Mom, please calm down. We can figure this out. But Emily ignored him. She looked at me like I was the problem, like I was standing between her and what she believed was rightfully hers. In that moment, I realized something terrifying. Michael loved her, yes, but he also wanted the house to keep peace. He wasn't going to fight her, not really. And that was when I felt completely alone in the place that was supposed to be mine. The immediate aftermath. I walked into the kitchen, holding my cheek, trying to steady my breath. The room smelled faintly of the cinnamon rolls I had baked earlier, but the warmth of the house was gone. The living room felt cold. The walls looked unfamiliar. I sat at the table, my hands trembling, and thought about what to do next. I couldn't call my friends. They lived across town, and this wasn't something I could explain without sounding dramatic. I couldn't call my parents, both gone. And Michael. He was conflicted, caught between the woman he loved and the mother who raised him. For the first time, I truly understood what it felt like to have your home invaded. Not just physically, but emotionally. I wanted to scream, to cry, to make her understand. But I didn't. I sat in silence, letting the sting on my cheek remind me that boundaries exist for a reason. A quiet resolve. Later that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I made a decision. I would not be intimidated. I would not hand over my home because someone demanded it. And I would not allow anyone, no matter how close to my son, to erase my life or my memories. I didn't know exactly how to protect myself, but I knew one thing. I would stand firm, and I would do it calmly, because anger wouldn't help, but strength, quiet strength, would. The first step toward action. The next morning, I started small. I double-checked the locks on the doors. I organized important papers and deeds. I made sure my finances were in order, quietly preparing for any legal or family conflict that might come. I didn't confront Emily yet. I didn't argue with Michael. I simply fortified my life, one careful step at a time. That's when I realized something important. Emily could slap me, demand things, and push her ideas, but she could not take the life I had built unless I let her. And I wasn't going to let her. Because this house, this home, was not just a building. It was me. For the next few days, the house felt like a battlefield. Even though no one spoke of the war openly, Emily moved through my home with a confidence that felt invasive. She rearranged furniture, suggested paint colors, and made quiet comments about every little thing she would do differently. Every word, every action reminded me that she wanted control, not just over the house, but over the life I had built. I tried to stay calm, patient, and respectful. I reminded myself that I had done my best to welcome her, to treat her like a daughter. But every time I saw her look at me with that cold, calculating stare, my chest tightened. Michael noticed it too. But instead of confronting her, he tiptoed around the tension like a man balancing on a tightrope. His silence was supposed to keep peace, but it made me feel even more isolated. The confrontation. It happened one Saturday evening. The rain had just stopped, and the backyard smelled of wet leaves. I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, when Emily came in, holding a folder of papers and looking serious. "Linda," she said calmly, almost too calmly, "we need to finalize the house plans. Michael and I aren't going to wait any longer." I turned to face her, my hands still on the cutting board. "Emily, we've talked about this. You're not getting this house overnight. You're not getting it without discussion or respect." She sighed, stepping closer. "Mom, it's not personal. We just want our future secured. You've had this house your whole life. Don't you think it's time to think about us?" I shook my head, my voice steady but firm. "It's my home. And until I say otherwise, it stays that way." Then she did something I never thought she would do. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. Hard. The room went silent. My cheeks stung. My heart pounded. I placed my hand over my face, tears threatening, and said quietly, Why would you do that?" Her expression was cold. "Because you're standing in the way of what's rightfully ours." Michael appeared behind her, his face pale. "Emily, that's enough." But the damage was done. That moment shattered the fragile trust one had tried to maintain. The house didn't feel like home anymore. My son's silence was no longer comfort, it was complicity. The emotional fallout. For hours, I sat alone in the living room, holding a blanket around my shoulders. I didn't know whether to cry or to plan my next steps. My cheek throbbed, but worse was the ache in my heart. I thought about the years I had poured into this house, raising my son, paying every bill, celebrating every holiday, nursing every injury, every scraped knee, every broken heart. And now it felt as if all that love and effort meant nothing. I realized something that night. Boundaries mean nothing if people don't respect them. And love, no matter how deep, cannot replace respect. A secret comes out. The next day, Emily's behavior escalated further. She called Michael aside while I was in the kitchen. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught pieces of the conversation. "She won't move, she's holding on to it. I need you to convince her." And then a shocking sentence. "Or I don't see how we can have our family here at all." My hands froze on the sink. Was she threatening me? Was she plotting to take the house by any means necessary? I didn't know. All I knew was that the woman I had welcomed into my home now saw me as an obstacle. Something to remove. The first step toward protection. I realized I needed to act, but carefully. Not with anger. Not with shouting. I contacted my lawyer, quietly reviewing the deeds and paperwork for the house. I organized important documents, checked the locks, and made sure everything was in order. I also began writing down events, conversations, and incidents, small notes that could serve as evidence if things escalated. Every word, every action, every look, all carefully recorded. Most importantly, I made a promise to myself. I will not be intimidated. I will not give up my home. I will not allow anyone to erase the life I have built. By the end of that week, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion, fear, and determination. Emily had crossed the line. Michael had remained silent too long. And I had finally realized that the fight for my home wasn't just about property. It was about respect, dignity, and the life I had created. And I wasn't backing down. By the following Monday, the tension in the house was unbearable. Every step I took felt heavy. Every glance at Emily filled me with anxiety. She moved through the rooms with quiet confidence, as if everything here already belonged to her. Michael tried to mediate, but I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. He was caught between loyalty to his wife and love for his mother. And I understood that. Truly I did, but it didn't make me feel any less alone. That evening, as rain pattered against the windows, Emily approached me again. This time she didn't raise her voice. She didn't make demands. She just looked at me, eyes hard and unwavering. "Mom," she said, "give us the keys. You're making life difficult for everyone. We need this house. You should just understand that." I looked at her, holding back tears, and spoke calmly but firmly. "Emily, I've loved you like a daughter. I welcomed you into my home. I prayed for your happiness, for Michael's happiness, for our family. But this house, this life I built, is mine. I will not hand it over because you demand it. Respect is earned, not taken." She blinked, as if surprised I dared speak to her that way. I could see the frustration and the disbelief in her eyes. "You don't get it, Mom," she said softly. "We're your family now. You should care about what's best for all of us." I shook my head, feeling the weight of years in my chest. "I care about all of you, but respect, kindness, and boundaries are part of that care. If you can't honor them, then love means nothing." Emily turned on her heel and walked away, slamming the door to the guest room behind her. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot, and for a moment, silence fell over every corner of the living room. Michael's awakening. Later that night, Michael came to my room. His face was pale, his hands shaking slightly. "Mom, I should have said something sooner," he whispered. "I shouldn't have let her treat you like that." I reached for his hand, holding it firmly. "Michael, it's not too late. You can still make things right. But I need you to stand with me. Not against her, not against love, just for fairness, for respect." He nodded slowly, finally meeting my eyes. "I will, Mom. I promise. I'll talk to her tomorrow." It felt like a small victory. Not for the house, not for me, but for the principle that family doesn't mean permission to harm, or manipulate, or demand. A turning point. The next day, Michael and Emily sat down with me in the living room. The tension was thick, but for the first time, I felt the possibility of calm. Michael spoke first, his voice firm but gentle. "Emily, you went too far. You cannot treat my mother this way. This house is hers, and no one gets to decide otherwise." Emily's eyes narrowed, but she remained quiet. I took a deep breath. "Emily, I want peace. I want our family to be happy. But happiness cannot come at the cost of respect. You've hurt me. You've crossed a line, and that line cannot be crossed again." She looked down finally. For the first time, I saw hesitation, the small crack in her confidence. Michael placed a hand on her shoulder. "We start over, but with boundaries. We work together. We respect each other." I felt the tension lift slightly. Not gone but lighter. The storm hadn't passed, but we had found the first threads of calm. Reflection. That night, as I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, I looked out at the backyard. The maple tree had lost most of its leaves, and the wind whispered through the branches. I felt the ache in my cheek, the tension in my heart, and yet a small seed of hope had taken root. I realized that protecting my home wasn't just about walls and doors. It was about protecting my dignity, my voice, and the love that built this life. I also realized something else. Standing your ground doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you love yourself enough to demand respect. And sometimes, that's the most important lesson of all. The days that followed felt different. The house was still the same. Creaking floors, familiar smells, the soft hum of life. But the energy had shifted. Boundaries had been set, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of control, a sense of safety in my own home. Emily remained quiet, and Michael made it clear that my space was mine. The tension didn't vanish overnight, but the storm had passed. And slowly, conversations began to replace arguments. Small steps toward healing. Emily started helping in ways that felt natural, not controlling. She cooked occasionally, set the table thoughtfully, and even asked for my advice. It was a different kind of connection, one built on respect, not entitlement. Michael stayed by my side in small, meaningful ways. He made sure that no decision was made without considering my feelings. Seeing him stand for me, even quietly, reminded me that love can exist alongside strength and boundaries. A quiet conversation. One evening after dinner, Emily came to me. She sat across from me at the table, her hands folded. "Linda," she said softly. "I overstepped. I didn't understand how much this house means to you. I'm sorry." Her words were simple, but they carried weight. I nodded slowly, holding back my own tears. "Emily, thank you," I said. "I forgive you. I hope we can move forward, not as adversaries, but as a family." She nodded again, a small smile breaking through. And in that moment, I realized something important. Boundaries and respect do not close the heart. They make it stronger. Reflections on family and love. I spent that night sitting on the porch, looking at the stars. The maple tree in the yard had lost its last few leaves, and the wind whispered softly. I thought about the past weeks, the fear, the pain, the slap, the threats, but I also thought about the lessons I had learned. I learned that love is not submission. I learned that respect cannot be assumed. It must be earned. And I learned that standing firm, even when it's difficult, is not unkind, it's necessary. My home, my life, my memories, they belong to me. And protecting them doesn't make me selfish. It makes me human. A hopeful ending. The next morning, Emily helped me in the kitchen, arranging flowers in a vase. Michael walked by with a grin, holding a cup of coffee for me. I smiled back, feeling the warmth of family, imperfect but real. I realized that the house had never just been about walls or doors. It had been about love, history, and care. And as long as those things remained, there was hope. I took a deep breath, looking around at the home I had built, the son I had raised, and the family we were slowly becoming. And I whispered quietly to myself, "This is my home, my heart, and nothing can take that away, not a slap, not a demand, not even fear. Love and respect will always guide us home."